and welcome back to the LEC. You see our mini bear friends, one of which might have just been knocked over by the jib.
He's okay.
Just a casual act of bear slaughter, I guess is what we would call it. Welcome back to Game 2. Game 1, very, very one-sided. Adaptation is going to be the name of the game for Mad Lions heading into Game 2. What the adaptation will be, we're going to have to find out.
I think what's really important is that this time around, Mad Lions is going to be on blue side. Blue side has been historically the strongest side. Maybe don't tell Sjokz that though, because they keep managing to win from red side. And this is the important thing. Obviously, with all of these big power picks, you heard it on the Analyst desk, you know, talking about the fact that you free up a lot of bans. If G2 can win on red side and then also take us to match point, that's a huge show of confidence from them. This is going to be the big power play for Mad Lions. What priority pick do they get here on blue?
Well, as the music becomes a little funkier, I'm expecting the draft to get a little funkier. So typically when G2 are on red side, they put a pretty heavy priority on the Senna ban. They'll also look to ban away the Kalista. Guys, just roll there. I'm flowing, I'm moving, right? So we'll see what they choose to take off the board. The fact that Zed has been banned away from Mad Lions, a little surprising to me. G2 also going to remove the Lux. Now, we are playing on patch on the
1016A.
B.
No, it's
A.
Yeah, no, we got the B in. The Lux fix.
No, it's 1016A with the Lux fix.
With the Lux fix. That's
not 1016B. Caitlyn has not been nerfed, so it's A, but the Lux, I guess, bug has been fixed.
Yes. I see.
Thank you.
When you say it, he just is like, oh yes, that's correct. But when I say it...
I misunderstood you, Frost. I apologize.
You just gotta say it 4 times. It's the 4th time that he gets it.
4 times the charm.
Anyway, speaking of funky, TF is gonna get banned. Ash is also gonna get banned, so actually not that funky yet. We'll see if the first pick shows us more.
A really big priority on Kalista by banning Ash.
Oh, so...
Yeah, so okay, G2 are like, you are not getting the priority pick of the Kalista, especially with the Ash ban.
So Senna is typically the priority here. That was what you would conventionally see anyway.
Lillia was banned last game on red side.
How much do Mad Lions value the Lillia is the question.
And do they play it jungle or top lane? Because we heard from the Analyst desk, want to see Shadow rather on a playmaker. Lillia, not the biggest playmaker in the early game.
If you guys are new to Lillia or haven't seen her or don't have that much experience with her, she is a hard farming champion, typically seen in the jungle. Obviously, she was played, I believe, in the solo lane last night in LCS.
She was also played yesterday by Trick in the jungle as well. Got destroyed, but...
That wasn't necessarily... Oh, okay, some of it was Trick's fault.
But Lillia is a really interesting champion. We'll talk more about her as we get into game. But for now, that is going to be the priority. That means that the Senna can, of course, be picked up by G2 Esports. Now, typically, they would lock in their jungler here, something like the set, but with him taken off the board, it looks like they're going to prioritize their Nautilus.
So, still going really hard engage. Again, it's not a super defensive lane by having like Senna and Tom Kench or something like that. So, really still prioritizing Mikyx having engage tools. I wonder if we're going to also see him roaming around, even if Senna doesn't have the push priority there.
Wow, the blind Shen. G2 could just lock in Gangplank right now if they wanted to.
But also remember that there were 2 other top lane bans thrown G2's way in the previous game, both designed to keep the Shen comfortable, the Kaiser and the Camille. So they can pick really anything that they want here to deal with this blind pick Shen. Surprisingly bold of Mad Lions. This pick must be doing well in scrims.
What if the Shen's a flex, though?
That says Kaiser, not Hylissang, buddy. There's no way that's a Shen support.
I mean,
it's technically possible.
That also says Kaiser.
I'm just saying, so like the thing about Shen is, one reason why I could see a blind pick Shen is with the expectation that they can flex it. It's something that Mad Lions, hey, Kaiser can play Wukong bot and they can flex Wukong, right? So I'm just going to leave the options open. We'll see. Neeko is going to be the response from G2. We have not seen this from Wunder for a while.
Back to the Shen support, though. Also, the fact that you see Nautilus so early does lend credibility that it could be a support Shen because he does well into the matchup. Has the shield, obviously can also, the base damage champions, like Shen's base damage, Nautilus's base damage, for some reason, ridiculously high. They just kind of trade back and forth and just start punching each other relentlessly. Any AD carry is kind of like, why? Why does this tank with no damage items beat me to death?
It's like Ornn, Ornn's no longer here one-shotting carries and making them rage. It has to be the Nautilus. It has to be the Shen. Someone has to take the role of one-shotting AD carries, so they have to be something, or there's something to be mad about. But on the subject of Neeko, as we do see the Azir and Akali bands locked in, Neeko, of course, did get a buff on 1016, 10 damage on the base damage of her Q. Blooming Burst is an additional 5 damage on each of the secondary procs. So there's a reason that maybe we're seeing it now. I didn't think the buff was that big, but maybe it was just enough to put her over the edge.
I'm really excited. Wunder's always been a very talented Neeko player in the top lane, and he plays it both on hit and a full AP, depending on the context of the matchup, so we'll see what direction he does go. We're getting to our final bans right now. Mad Lions taking away some of the safe blind picks. They're also going to remove Froskurinn. Alright, so they consider Froskurinn a pretty good matchup into the Lillia, so they don't want to give the that counter matchup options. We'll see what direction G2 now take.
I mean, you kind of saw that yesterday with Trick versus Gilius. Not to say that Froskurinn just beats Lillia, but they're both kind of power farming junglers that have team fight emphasis in there.
Both their Qs are spinny things.
Oh,
That's
no.
true.
It's a theme for horses and also boars. All right, there you go. Now we got the Jankos Sejuani.
Someone check on him.
Oh, we heard from Jankos. All Grabs has to do is say, "Hey, buddy, we need to win Worlds," and he'll lock in the Sejuani. So maybe Grabs watched the episode and found out the magic words, but there it is. Sometimes you got to swallow your pride, folks, and just play what's good for the composition.
So far, out of the 4 picks that we see from G2, that is a ton of engage. Yep. You have Sejuani engage, Neeko ultimate, Mikyx as well. And speaking of engage, the Cannonball comp.
The Camille. So this does suggest that we're going to see a Shen in the bot lane. Mad Lions flexing their flex pick muscles. Flexius would be proud as they're going to put the Camille up in the top lane into what?
Wait, but who's getting it? But who's getting it? That's the spicy question.
Irelia, I like this. So the Irelia did receive some small buffs. It was either this patch or the last patch. It was one of the last 2 patches. But that's going to be caps on Irelia into the Galio mid lane, it's looking like right now.
But I think it's when you take it into context that it's Sejuani and Irelia together.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a great point for us.
It feels like G2's strategy, at least for these first 2 games, is super strong mid-jungle synergy. We saw how disastrous that was for Humanoid, how brilliant Jankos' pathing was to make sure that Caps was punishing there, and Mikyx still on the same champion that can roam there as well. That's what I think the game plan is between this Irelia and this Sejuani, and Humanoid needs to know that there's going to be a huge target on his back.
Also, I've got a big question mark here because Mad, with their comp, lot dive ball, but into a Neeko? Is that really going to work as well as they like it? I'm excited to see how this plays out because it was convincing from G2 Esports in game 1. They're not going to have the same early game power, but it's going to be an exciting one. Mad Lions versus G2. We're going in for game 2.
Welcome to my favorite draft of 2020. I am so ready because there are so many things that I have not prepared for because they did not exist until this series. Wow, Shen support is back. Irelia mid is back. Neeko top is back. You might think it's 2019. It's so exciting.
Hey, I told you Shen support was a thing like 2 weeks ago.
But I didn't believe you because we also played Bard.
Oh, so it's not just Vedius.
We played Bard Sona bottom lane and you told me that was good. You can't be trusted.
All right, so while Mom and Dad argue,
yes, son.
have a look at some of the stats on your screen. Both Wait.
Can you read?
It says
It's 4-0.
I got confused. It said Perkz, Caps. Caps' Irelia is undefeated here in the LEC. Wunder's Neeko is undefeated. If you guys remember MSI last year, like this duo, the Wunder Caps duo, they had some pretty insane plays, and a lot of those insane plays were on these champions as well. So excited to see them back on it. But I'm also excited to see Shadow on Lillia. We haven't really seen some convincing Lillia performances yet, but this is something you often see on Lillia. Because her clear speed is so fast, because of her mobility, every jungler has told me enemy Raptors belong to you. And as you can see right now, Shadow is going to take those ones away very quickly.
I mean, the idea with Lillia is that she farms so effectively with the Q that you just make sure that you keep it stacked and you can just like sprint through the jungle, wander into mid lane, help your mid laner get control there, walk into the bottom side, and you just keep doing this over and over. So if you get lanes that give you push priority, Lillia could get really unlocked. And then because we're in a dragon meta, the one thing that she's kind of missing is usually ganks, although Shadow is going to take a look at Caps.
Ooh, going in for it. Caps still only level 1, not a lot of options here. Shadow gonna dive over though.
Oh, no.
Oh no! 1 for 1, no!
Oh, that's not great for Shadow. That's really not great. I want the replay before I comment on it because I want to see exactly what happened there. Let's have a look-see. So I'm keeping my eyes on Shadow in this play. And notice the Humanoid will get level 2 first, so he has the taunt. Very clutch flash here from Caps. And then, of course, sidesteps the Q from Shadow.
Say it, Betty.
So
Say it,
he
Betty. Say it,
flashes
Betty.
in. Oh my god, but he misses everything.
What did he miss, Betty?
Oh, he missed the watch out! Eep! And yeah, that was yeah.
That was an Eep play for sure, my friend. Definitely not the start that they wanted, after, especially after taking away the Raptors when Jankos was going to try to start there. That's a rough one.
So as I was saying, the one thing that Lillia really lacks is gank tools, so she usually needs setup. Now, Galio had some decent setup for her, but unfortunately, we pulled a bit of a trick and we kind of missed some key abilities there. She's still going to be very fast, but you can see the idea that Shadow had. As
He's mid again.
we said that Mikyx would come mid. Oh no!
Wow, absolutely flawless read there. The Ignite not taken down. Humanoid now going to be in trouble. That's going to be one more kill back. Shadow going to try to throw down a bit more damage. A lot of sustained damage coming out from the Lillia. Very fast, but just going to get locked up, stunned, and knocked out. The Shen coming in. Caps will go down in the meantime, but Jankos, another stun follow-up. Absolute, what is happening here? My God, I've seen less kills than an ARAM at this point. That's a double for the support Shen. It's certainly looking very strong. You gonna dive him?
Oh, he had Aftershock, so I thought he would actually go for that, but wow. Okay, so...
Oh no!
Oh, support combat, Mikyx!
Oh, Kaiser, what
Mikyx!
was that though?
Lord of the double buffs,
Oh
Mikyx
my
reigns
word.
supreme.
Lord of the double buff. All right, so this,
Two supports enter, one leaves.
All right, so this is where the action kicks off. Good hook from Mikyx, and then the combined might of Irelia plus Nautilus is very strong. So they get that initial kill. Then the TP comes through from Orome, and this was just a really good turnaround from G2 onto Shadow. So squishy in the early game is this Lillia. But look, so many melee champions. The Sejuani just keeps getting applied.
The Sejuani and the Nautilus chain CC is just hell on earth.
Now, of course, Shen, he's an exceptionally strong duelist in the early games, so he's able to get away with this thanks to his passive as well. But then look here, he's trying to taunt Mikyx underneath the tower. Oh, and then there's just the slight sidestep and the...
Read him like a book. Just
And the ludicrous Nautilus hook hitbox, of course.
Mikyx sitting here being like, who's the All-Pro? Tell me who the All-Pro is!
Oh my God.
living rent-free in Kaiser's mind right now. Just
Well played by both supports to get 2 kills in that exchange, but I guarantee everyone else on their team is furious right now. Like, what was that last play? Just go back to your lanes and support.
and now Mikyx has double buff.
And now Mikyx has double buff. It's 2-0-2.
Well,
They're just gonna keep running into
Wait,
mid
Caps
lane.
just gonna all in him.
Well,
go again. There's level 4 here, but 3 members of Mad Lions in the area. Humanoid, once he gets cooldowns back up, should make this pretty easy. The stun connects, but now Mikyx's here too. Again, one more time. 3v3 mid lane.
what is this ARAM?
I don't...
It's Nexus Blitz. It's Nexus Blitz.
It is Nexus
It's
Blitz.
battle for the double buffs. We have to keep them going as long as possible.
Wow, you know what? I don't really think anything right now. I think that G2 have a gold advantage. That's what I've surmised from this series of events. Can we bring up the lower third thing again? And let's have a look at the top and bot lane difference. So right now, Wunder has a slight advantage because Orome did TP down into that mid lane fight.
They're diving Carzzy.
Perkz also is slightly behind, even though he has a CS advantage, but Carzzy doesn't
Vedius.
realize
They're
that the
diving
good squad is
Carzzy.
coming.
Carzzy, 1 stack, 2 stack, 3 stack, and 4. That's going to be 1 dead. Ezreal, nothing for Carzzy to do there, and G2 just continuing to come out on top in these exchanges. Last time was a 2K gold lead at 5 minutes, and now it's, well, 1.5 at 6. So continuing to be very dominant. For the flash out from Wunder, now the level 6 coming in from Orome, perfectly timed because here comes the Galio, solid combo, but the response coming in sadly will not connect. Perfect Justice Punch coming out from Humanoid to make sure that one works.
I love the Lillia ball just because of the fadeaway. Okay, finally Mad Lions get something on the board. Nice vision spots out that G2A had just massacred their AD carry up or down in the bot lane and then also rotated onto the Infernal, so they find a window to go all in with the Camille topside. And now maybe things stabilize, although I doubt it. This game has been LPL-esque, I'll say.
I think that what we would have said had the early game had not been as chaotic is we expect around level 6 Mad to be playing through top side of the map. You have Shen ultimate, you have Galio ultimate, and Camille is going to be your primary carry. Because of the combo that you have with Camille and Galio where you lock someone down and then you can guarantee that Galio ultimate, it is a tried and true combo. I forget which worlds it was, but it was like the go-to OP combo that if you got it, you pretty much all won. And it's been rising in popularity again this season, and that's kind of what we expected. So Mad, they get a good playoff, they get a little bit more gold into Orome's pocket, and they force the flash and TP out from Wunder.
Which is why I'm really curious about the Neeko pick and how it's going to match up versus Camille. You kind of talked about it a little bit in draft, Vedius, this idea that the cannonball comp of Galio and Camille wants to go in, but obviously if you land on Neeko, it makes it that much easier for her ultimate to just cause havoc. It is going to be the AP Neeko as he's looking for the Hextech Revolver, but obviously, he's going to get outscaled into the side lane. Eventually, Camille will just take that over, so there will be a 1-4 option with 2 swings because it is Shen and Galio to play Camille in a side lane when this map gets opened up. Whereas, obviously, Wunder's going to be playing more for the team fights, which is why the hard engage is so important for G2's composition, because they can't let Orome just run amok on these side lanes without tools to punish the other grouped up members of MAD.
Well, so this is where the Irelia pick thing gets interesting for me, because I think that Caps may very well be able to match the Camille later on in a side lane, but I don't have enough expertise on the Irelia-Camille matchup. My gut says that Camille should be stronger in a straight-up 1v1, because she does have that true damage on her Q, but I could also very realistically see it being a skill matchup because of how many skill shots are involved in that 1 versus 1. So maybe that is the side lane insurance that G2 have for later on into the game. But honestly, I think G2 is just going to be looking for team fights. I think their priority is to look for the 5v5s, look to play around these Drakes, focus on these early neutral objectives, and the fact that they've been able to get this early lead, probably not part of their game plan. I think that, sure, they probably wanted to make a couple of ganks mid happen, but the way things have been playing out, I think definitely are just only favorable for how G2 is feeling with their comp.
And continuing to control every single objective on the map. And of course, while Caps has definitely been the benefactor of so much jungle attention, you have to give credit to the man who is giving it to him. Jankos early game in game 1, 5K plus A at 15. Huge number, incredible individual gold lead, and he's on the road to have a similar performance this time around. Already got first Drake, already got first Herald, and has already been a part of, I believe, 4 out of the 6 kills.
Yeah, the conversation, of course, with these 2 games kind of on the books will be about Caps and how crazy his LeBlanc was, and now maybe a similar thing that's starting to happen for his Irelia. But Jankos really set up Caps for success in game number 1, and like you just pointed out, Drakos has been doing the same thing in game
Well, Shadow also helped, if we're being honest.
Helped Jankos, yes.
No. What's really interesting here is Caps prioritizing the Wit's End as opposed to the Trinity Force that we often see. Now, because he's going up against the double AP threat of the Galio and the Lillia, that's, I think, to be expected. The Galio now making his way up towards top once again.
Rinse and repeat. Wunder will get locked up. The root will not connect with the Senna. All now coming in. Wunder will still get dropped.
Here comes Caps.
He goes on the way as well. Maybe they can get something else done here. The flawless duet. Find one quite yet. Will lock up Humanoid, force the flash out. Ulti connecting, max range, but really no follow-up. Maybe they can grab a few plates, however, in the meantime, because Orome is going to have a very tough time staying under this tower. Humanoid going to be forced to stay as well. One shot's the wave, and we'll be able to walk out, power that Galio early on.
Yeah, rinse and repeat there from Humanoid and Orome, continuing to abuse Wunder up into the top lane. He's able to land the ultimate, but he's not able to get away, even with the Senna ultimate on the back end of that fight. And with Irelia itemizing for the magic damage, obviously that's not going to help her against Camille in this case.
And I like these plays that we're seeing from MAD right now, but G2 want to try and answer back. They're looking for the dive.
Potential for chain CC here. Locked up 1, locked up 2. Now trying to keep it going. Ulti can come in from Shadow, though, and lock Jankos into the tower. He will be forced to flash to stage Shadow. Watch out. Eep cleaning him up as well. Sweeping him. And now continue to run him down. Not going to connect, though. Ulti now coming in from Mikyx. Should make an easy fall up here. Lillia so squishy, even if she can dish out so much damage.
I thought that was going to be pretty bad for G2 there. Ooh, flash in bot lane.
Top flash, easy pickup. Wunder now trying to survive as much as he can. Shield coming in. Is it going to be enough, though? Sidestepping there on the Q. Carzzy can continue to step forward, but he has to be careful. The blooming burst. Tangle barbs as well. Potentially could make his life more difficult, but that's going to be it. Wunder will get... No.
Clever fake.
Should be dead here now. Trying to find a kill back onto Carzzy, but is not going to get the opportunity quite yet. Carzzy sidestep, taunt through. Kaiser should just finish that one off, but tries to give it to Carzzy, so maybe risks a little bit there.
Yeah, I will say credit to Wunder right there for trying to deny the kill for as long as possible, then making sure that it ended up in Kaiser's hands and not Carzzy as we take another look at that top lane dive.
So we can see here, Orome does what he can. He grips to the wall just as the stun comes through, unfortunately, so he can't sidestep it and land that stun. Then Jankos gets slept, is forced to flash out for the attack. And at this point, I'm like, oh, there's no way you're going to beat this Lillia in the 1v1, because she's so mobile, she can so easily chase you down. That is why Mikyx chooses to flash ulti, to guarantee that crowd control, lock Shadow down, and then give Caps the kill. So G2 end up coming out ahead on that play, but then MAD appropriately respond on the bot side of the map. So I like the fact that MAD are matching G2 blow for blow. Last game, they just kind of rolled over and died in every single play, but this time around, they're only at a slight deficit. They have kills. Well, they have a lot of kills on Shen, but they also have kills on Orome, and that's the most important thing. This training force is going to be completed soon for the Camille.
Kaiser will get stunned over the wall. Follow-up, not going to be there. But I think it's a good thing to point out, Vedius, is that while Lillia can do a lot of damage, and she is certainly very mobile, she doesn't actually have a dash. So against a Sejuani and a Nautilus, it's actually going to be very, very difficult for Shadow to do a lot in these fights, unless he's got a very strong front line ahead of him. But for now, Kaiser is going to be in trouble. Good dash out will nullify the ultimate coming out from Caps, but does set up G2 with priority access to the Drake. Kaiser and Carzzy really no room to step up here because their team is not in the area, and that will be the second Drake for G2.
We keep running into situations where the Shen ultimate isn't being used proactively by Mad Lions. You know, we keep seeing the Galio ultimate on top of the Camille ultimate, but I want to see Kaiser also getting involved with these plays and playing cross-map and making trades and not just finding themselves in situations where they're watching G2 take dragons away from them.
Well, it looks like Mad is trying to be proactive now. They've taunted up Caps.
The ulti now coming out, they can sleep the Irelia, taking their time. Drowsy, but now not caught under the turret. They are going to finish him off. Quick shutdown, 800 gold into the pocket of Carzzy. That is massive.
Definitely a big pick there for Mad Lions. I like to. You can see Shadow came in through the lane.
Camille has ult.
They also threw down the ulti to guarantee that sleep. And then Mad is going to secure themselves their first tower of the game. So they're going to close that gold gap. Things are going to even up. The fact that Carzzy got that shut down is going to mitigate a lot of that deficit that he was put into. And experience-wise, gold-wise, Mad are definitely in this game.
Yeah, and I think a huge issue is the fact that Wunder is put so far down and so far behind. He's going to really struggle to find any sort of safe matchup right now. And again, because there's so many swings on Mad's comp with the Galio, with the Shen, like, you can just attack him and continue to abuse him. So can G2 hide Wunder or get him involved where he can be helpful? And can Mad Lions continue to exploit this weakness that they've created?
Will they continue to split up the map as well? Of course, we're getting closer and closer to third Drake, usually the time where teams start to try to contest, to force themselves from getting stuck between a rock and a hard place, dealing with a team at soul point. As you said, gold very much dead on even after a pretty solid advantage in the early game for G2. Orome and Humanoid making the difference to bring them back. Caps now shot out into the side lane, but as you highlighted earlier, Vedius, this is not a trendy force. This is magic resistance, defensive itemization in the form of the Wit's End. So the actual 1v1 matchup not nearly as favorable as it could be.
So the thing that we have to keep our eyes on, Mickey.
That taunt right there, because now Mickey's going to be in trouble. Perkz now trying to move in, has a little bit more shielding there, but Mickey is going to get taken down. Another shutdown for Carzzy.
Another really good pick coming out from Mad, and this is going to give them priority over the Rift Hold and the top lane tower as well. I love that Mad is continuing to be proactive. We asked, were they going to go for more of an early game approach? And while they don't have the same sort of early game power that G2 had last game, they have a lot of early game agency, and they're finding repeated picks. They've been able to take an advantage now in the kills. Oh, but Humanoid may have overextended.
Potentially. Kong will still connect. Cleanse now coming out. Good damage on the backside from the Ezreal, but now flashing over the wall. Wunder in the midst of everything. Only going to find one, though, on the ulti. Caps debating. Flash over the wall. Very aggressive here. Kaiser taking his time, though, dancing around the stun. Kaiser set to get locked up here. Ulti now coming in. That's going to be a stun. They are going to be able to finish him off. Caps on the backside, but they're very low. Orome now coming in. Has to be careful. Can't get bursted down, but can start to turn it around. Hextech ultimatum. Shadow going to take down Perkz. Orome looking for the hookshot wall die, potentially the follow-up, but both sides will back away 1-for-1 at the end of the exchange.
Yeah, what started out as Humanoid maybe going too deep and out of position. Suddenly Mad Lions turn on its head, and Humanoid using the ultimate to escape. It now gives Mad Lions priority control over mid lane. The Herald goes down, and that's actually a huge swing in their favor. Very well played in kind of the extended trade and also securing mid tower.
Yeah, Mad Lions right now doing a fantastic job going toe-to-toe with G2 in a lot of these skirmishes, responding to some of the aggression that we're seeing from G2. And the thing that I wanted to mention earlier was QSS. Going to be very valuable on both sides. We see absolutely no cleanses, but with things like Lillia's Sleep, with things like Sejuani's Ultimate, with so much crowd control on both sides, the ability to remove it is going to be a very big purchase. But of course, it's going to delay those item spikes. So the faster you get to there, the faster you can get it, it's going to be a big swing in the upcoming fights.
And the good news is, Perkz not only has a stopwatch, but he does have a cleanse, even if it is not available now. So that is at least one character who will not be forced to buy that. There's no suppression in the game currently, so he will still be able to get out of just about anything that they can throw at him.
I think a big concern, though, is that as the mountain is about to spawn, and obviously the soul's not going to be as impactful as maybe an ocean or an infernal soul, of course. but ultimately, you can start to slow down these dragon stacks, and Mad Lions are in a perfect position where they're very powerful right now. G2, even though they have the first 2 Drakes, should probably give up this Drake if this is just a fair, even fight where both teams draw the line of scrimmage and kind of run at each other. Unless G2 get crafty and try to curate a pick, this should be completely Mad Lions' zone of control.
Now you see Mad Lions, as said, moving in, taking control of the area that they have rights over. For now, at least. Wunder scouting a little bit with the fake. Will now back off. Luckily for them, Scuttle Crab is there, so they know generally that Mad is in the area. Still will be around in 15 seconds when the Drake does spawn. Mad Lions can burn this down quite quickly with a level 11 Lillia.
G2 are looking to fight this. They're actually not trying to trade on CS or waves at all. They're all here.
Yep, we're going to have a big fight coming up. Notice that Shadow level 11, Orome level 11, flash in.
Forward. Hook and the ulti going to miss, so that's big for the fight to come. G2 may have missed the mark there. May not have the opportunity to fight anymore, and it looks like they will just back off. They thought if they found that pick, they could get more, but they will not find it, so Mad will get the 3rd Drake for themselves.
And see, that's the thing. G2 had the option where, okay, we don't necessarily have the items. We probably can't fight this. We can go to the top lane. We can continue to try to get a CS into Wunder. It's not that important. You know, we still have 2 Drakes to our name. But instead, they decide to group up and then fish for a pick, and it doesn't turn out. So it's kind of one of those things that's just like, G2 just tries to do that. I think they wasted a lot of time, and now I hope that Mad Lions can continue to punish them for that type of performance.
Well, they are going to steal away a lot of the jungle away from G2. Jankos looking for a fight, but he doesn't have his ultimate, so he's not going to take it. Will be spotted out on a ward, and now Mad can make a beeline straight up towards the top lane, where that final outer tower is waiting. And you can see how quickly this game has suddenly swung into Mad Lions' control. Their mid game is so powerful, with the Trinity Force sitting on top of Orome, with the Iceborne Gauntlet and the Muramana stacking onto Carzzy. Like, Mad feel very comfortable, very powerful right now, and as Frosky was saying, G2 just kind of want to sit back, wait for the items a little bit more. They do have pretty good scaling on their side, but a lot of that relies on Senna and getting a little bit more AP and burst damage on top of Wunder.
Wunder just continuing to suffer. Obviously, is balancing things out in the CS department, but is only now hitting that first item. Does not have Boots 2 yet, just an extra amp tome to his name. So we'll continue to keep our eyes on exactly what this champion is going to do. Obviously, Glacial Augment is a big deal as we get later and later in the game. But this is feeling like a game where we might need to see a Zhonya's sooner rather than later.
I mean, he's utility, is all Wunder, the name of the game is going to be for this Neeko. He's been sitting in that lane forever, it feels like, with Sejuani just kind of creating a safety net of wards around him and just holding the wave. So either he's going to get dove, or Mad Lions are going to use the numbers advantage that they have elsewhere on the map to continue to eat up this map and pressure G2, like with the dive on Caps.
SaintCC is going to be clutch here. How long can they keep Caps locked down? More than long enough to kill him is the answer. Mad Lions with a very clean dive on the top side. G2 in no position to respond, will give up the top side tower, and the gold lead for Mad Lions will extend. A little bit more than 1,000 now in their favor. Beautiful dive from Mad. Very little else to add. They used the Shen ultimate well, they had the Humanoid tank it, they noticed that Caps also missed the stun, so there's very little that Caps could do there aside of just expect the dive to happen and disengage. So really well played from Mad, and now they're going to sit and continue to build up this gold advantage.
And then it is one of the nice things about Mad's comp is that they have great dive tools. So if G2 do decide to kind of freeze on one of their side lanes, Mad have all of the tools on their composition to punish that type of performance with how fast they can get around to lanes and then how confident they are to punish you underneath your own tower. Additionally, now you've got the Leandries finished for Shadow as well as the fully stocked Muramana for Carzzy. So Mad right now are just very, very strong. They're going to be very difficult to deal with for at least the next few minutes. Of course, Perkz has 2 items, but does not have the fully stacked Muramana. And while Caps is certainly feeling okay about the 2 items that he has, he doesn't have really a big health pool. So it's actually very easy for Camille to just rip through that health bar anytime she sees an opportunity.
That's very true. Humanoid right now zoning G2 away from this blue buff. They will hand that over to Mad. Sorry, hand it over to Shadow, and you can see he's sitting at level 12 right now. And I think that after watching game 1, I was worried that Mad was just going to be straight up outclassed from G2, but I am happy to see that Mad is performing much more of Mad Lions that we got to saw this split. The Mad Lions that was sitting in first place, the one who was dominating so many other teams, the one that even in the last time they played up against G2 did actually win that matchup. And I think that many people have and have had high expectations for Mad. They still have to win this game, but they're in a much better position this time around compared to last game.
And if they are winning it, they're winning it in a way that we liked to see from Mad in the past, which is aggressive, matching aggression with G2, and also showing us some new picks, showing us some innovation. Well, new old picks, but definitely Shen support looking very solid for Kaiser. A lot more agency on that champion than on the Tark in the previous game, and it's clearly paying off for the Mad Lions.
Also, individual performers stepping up, and that was kind of the big breakout success of this Mad Lions roster, is that you had such talent like Humanoid was kind of going into his realized form, and this type of performance versus his first performance, he wasn't punished as hard, he's looked great on this Galio right now, and really has set up the rest of his team to thrive in Orome and Shadow.
Now, of course, however, as we get closer and closer to Baron being on the table,
Dragon in 30 seconds as well, 35, and I think that's probably going to be the big point of contention up next. Question is, did G2 feel strong enough to fight? Because the Mana Mune is now fully stacked into the Mirror Mana, and Perkz sitting with 2.5 items should feel pretty strong, but Carzzy's going to be in a similar vein. The biggest issue I see for G2 right now is the level difference. You see 13 on Shadow, 11 for Jankos. You can see Carzzy 13, Perkz 12. So the level and the XP difference. Wow, Wunder's actually about to hit 14, fair enough. But for the most part,
he's been sitting in that lane for a long time.
Mad actually have a pretty large XP lead, which I think could be a big swing factor in this upcoming fight.
Look at Wunder, he's looking, oh, okay, I was going to say, he's actually sitting on base, possibly looking for a TP flank, but decides to just go behind his team. So G2 grouping up and just running front to back into this pit.
Right now, Mad are a little bit split. They're going to try to catch out Humanoid off on the side. Ultimate used. Follow-up CC will not be there. Humanoid with the Nimbus Cloak and the Flash will make it out to safety. Now Dragon, the center of attention, but they've already burned Mikyx's ultimate for Humanoid's Flash. Wunder in the meantime stepping behind Dragon, trying to get double value out of the root there. The Tangle bars. Carzzy, perfect input buffer, and now Orome into the middle of the entire team, combining with the Galio. Wombo, combo, all too easy, but G2 aren't dropping fast enough. Wunder on the backside trying to get something done. Perkz as well. In the meantime, Mad continuing to pull ahead. Ulti coming out. He's going to connect it onto 3. Wunder turning the fight right back in the favor of G2. And just like that, shutdown's coming through. Kaiser still alive, but the Dragon will be given up to G2 Esports.
Close fight, but it's G2 that comes out on top, and what a beautiful ultimate from Wunder. Such patient play showcased from the man that was put so far behind in the early laning phase. Let's take a look back at this one. So Humanoid's just waiting for a good opportunity to use his ultimate. After the engage, Orome goes in, they land onto Cap, but look at how quickly he dies. He just gets blown up by the squad of G2. Perkz' positioning is great as he lands an ultimate onto the entire team, and then Wunder waits for his opportunity. He sees that Mad are going to re-engage, flashes in, hits 3 people, and this then sets up for Perkz to follow up with the remaining damage, take out the Lillia, and then clean up the rest of Mad Lions.
Really a game of inches right there for G2. Like you said, Wunder coming up huge. The thing there is that if you have a bad team fight and you just get destroyed, you immediately rotate into Baron. That was actually, I think, a very risky call from G2 to try to contest that one. And yeah, they didn't get the Drake, or excuse me, they did get the Drake, and yeah, they won the team fight, but that could have also ended their game right there.
That's also G2 Esports in a nutshell. You know, they have a habit of taking these risks that, you know, sometimes they just have to outplay and they end up coming out on top. But Mad Lion, like, I think one of the biggest things for me is realizing how much damage this Lillia can do. Like, it is crazy what she's actually capable of. She just has free reign in these fights. The Leandries very quickly stacks up. The fact that Q is so spammable, like, Shadow, again, is going to be a big carry in these upcoming fights, I feel.
And one of the things that's incredible about that champion is that for the most part, when you use her ulti, you're hitting 1 or 2 champions. But when you've got a Galio to set you up, when you've got a Camille to set you up, and a Shen, you can run into the midst of a chaotic team fight, 1 quick Q into the ult, you can be sleeping 3 or 4 people, which at best is a ton of CC, at worst is just a bunch of extra damage. So the value of this champion uncontested in a team fight is just insane.
She's just so fast. It's so obnoxious, especially with the phase rush. This champion's moving like 500 miles an hour, just like zipping in there, throwing the Q. It's like if you took Evelynn and Darius and Hecarim and all just smashed them into one champion.
Yeah, and now I'm looking at some of the itemization that's coming through as well. I'm still waiting for either a Mikyx or a QSS to come through from either side. It looks like right now the priority is going to be some Death Dance. Maybe we get to see a Locket of the Iron Solari on Jankos as well. But 3 items done for Perkz, 3 items done for Carzzy. Both AD carries are primed, ready to go, looking for a fight. Zhonya's nearly done for Wunder. That's going to be a big pickup. But the Death Stance on Orome as well. He needs to be careful about how he approaches these next 2 fights because he has a lot of damage. But if he gets blown up like he did last time, he's not going to be able to contribute in these upcoming fights for Mad.
And that's why I think the Locket is actually super important from Jankos here once he gets it finalized, because surviving the burst damage of Mad's kind of like 1-2 punch is super important.
Oh no, hits him once, and that's going to be a sleepy Irelia. The follow-up is there, all too easy to take him down. Cap's getting lower and lower. The shield is too little too late. Now looks like Jankos is just next on the menu. Boar for dinner, not going to be a problem as Orome finishes that one off. And Mad, now poised to just take the Baron.
Yeah, that was such a great play from Mad, and it was so simple. They just sat in a brush, waited for Caps to overextend. They get themselves that kill, and with the jungler to boot, there's very little that G2 can do to contest.
Yeah, and you can see that Perkz is immediately walking towards the bot lane. They're going to go ahead and give this one away to Mad, even though it actually feels kind of like a slow Baron. There we go, Carzzy's finally hitting it.
Good sustained damage, but no traditional AD carry until Carzzy arrives to start finishing it off. So Baron going over to Mad Lions. Finally having a pretty substantial gold here, almost 2K in their favor. Of course, Soul is going to be the big deal for G2 in the next minute and 30 seconds, but because Mad are empowered by the Baron, hard to imagine G2 really having easy access to that objective.
And now the question is going to be, if Mad Lions close out this game, what is the adjustment? What is going to define this series? Because then we'd be sitting 1-1, and blue side would have won both times. Now, Lillia was banned on red in game number 1, priority picked in game number 2. Is this the champion that suddenly has to become permabanned? Do G2 decide that it's too obnoxious? I don't honestly think that Lilia's the problem here. I think it's more so some of G2's decision-making.
I mean, I've also been impressed with how Mad responded to a lot of the early skirmishes that G2 were trying to force, because after that chaos that we saw in mid lane multiple times, most teams would just kind of reset, take an opportunity to kind of catch back up, but Mad were like, nope, we're ganking top, we're doing it again and again and again, and they put Wunder so far behind and put Orome in a position of power. I think my big question mark for Mad will be how they actually execute these fights, because I think their comp is actually quite difficult to play. G2's comp is just bundle up, press R, go forward. It's actually very straightforward, especially when you have such good players. But Mad, positioning is going to be key. Target focus is going to be key. How you use your ultimates is going to be really important. So a big execution thing is going to be necessary for Mad to come out ahead in these 5v5s.
Cap splitting in the side lane currently. Meanwhile, Orome matching, but of course has the Baron empowered creeps to back him up. Tier 2 will fail in favor of G2. Traded, of course, for Mad in 2 Tier 2s. So Mad continue to come out on top, but Cap's trying to get something done. Will force Humanoid to back. Of course, does have the TP if he wants to return to mid lane. Cap's going to have to respect that one.
There may be some people asking, why isn't the Irelia coming back? Remember that Irelia offers basically no wave clear in this situation. The only time Irelia would be valuable is if G2 is getting dived. And as long as the rest of G2 plays safe enough, it's actually more valuable for Caps to split push than it is to actually group up. You're relying on Wunder to be the primary wave clear in a position like this, or you just kind of have to concede these tier 2 towers, which is by and large what G2 did.
Yeah, and also the fact that Caps traded 2 towers for 3 towers, I think, overall, and the Baron team kind of barely gets an advantage there. Also did get access into the Drake, but because the Drakes are split pretty even between both teams, it's not like the Soul is going to be a big problem coming up.
So it looks like G2 had just said, okay, fine, we lost the Baron, sucks, but with that Baron wearing off and Mad yet to break into the base, this game is still very close. This is what I think a lot of fans and a lot of us wanted to see from these two teams. Mad that pretty much sat at the top of the regular season for the vast majority of it until the very end. G2, a team that looks like they're returning to form. The back and forth is what we wanted to see between these two teams. So we're going to get one big fight, I feel, that's going to swing this game. And the outcome.
I'm not gonna lie, I was really scared when G2 came out and just sucker punched Mad in game number 1, but I'm with you, Vedi. You know, I want to see the Mad Lions that we were really building up to kind of be the next big EU team.
Hold that thought, though. These Perkz is getting engaged on Will Go Golden. They're trying to buy a bit of time, but a sleepy Jankos in the meantime. Perkz now running for the hills, but can't get out of the Camille ultimate quite yet. Now backing up, waiting for his opportunity to fire the ultimate, but he might not get one. Wunder trying to create as much space as possible. Orome is going down. In the meantime, Caps is still alive, but there's too many members of Mad left standing. Caps wants to turn it. Dash, dash, auto, trying to finish it. Carzzy goes down. Caps still alive on the backside. Can he find a miracle turnaround? The stun will not connect. Caps still running for the hill. Shadow has to be careful, though. Wunder on the way in. Caps is very strong, has so much MR. He cannot be stopped in this exchange. Triple kill coming in for Wunder, and Caps carries the fight.
Was that the Cheyenne rookie, or is that Wunder and Caps, the duo, do it again? Beautiful outplay in the top lane as they stop Mad Lions with the Baron buff. Wow, 3 for 2 in favor of G2, a fight that landed on a knife's edge.
This is... We came into mid-split and we're like, Kaiser is going to be the MVP. He was our mid-split MVP. We were so excited about. Caps is just insane, though. It is now a big conversation. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Gillis? Is it Caps? Is it Kaiser? And it's performances like this where you're like, G2 should have lost here. Like, this looks great for Mad Lions. At first, you're like, wow, I think they're actually going to close the game off of this. And he just rips it back.
Wow, the flash usage of Caps in that final fight.
He sidesteps the Lillia Q,
even though he misses so many E's. And huge props to Wunder as well. He comes in a little bit later into the fight. He's killing people on the backline. He gets a triple kill as well. Like, this duo is just, can be so terrifying.
Wow. Wow. 4,700 damage.
Is that
from
the Irelia buffs? Is that what that is?
That's, I mean, yes.
Yes.
The 20% attack speed is that's it. It was before useless, now 4,000 damage.
We call it the Caps buff. Anytime he pilots.
Oh my god.
And now the gold is dead even. G2 is still one Drake away from Out and Soul. Mad R2. And again, but this is what I was saying, right? Like, G2's comp, in a nutshell, is a lot easier to execute than Mad's is. And in that situation, what Mad actually did was dive a tower. So G2 had a bit of a buff because there was a 6th man there helping provide that additional safety. So Mad have to be careful when making these type of plays.
The issue, though, is I think they split damage. The fact that Orome dove back onto the
100%.
in-hit tower, and I think if they had all done it together, they still would have been successful. But I get it. I agree with you, but I also am just like, was that really the composition doing work for them, or was that...
I mean, this is the thing, right? But it's one of those things that I look at where I'm like, if you mess up with Mad's comp, G2 have so many tools with their comp where they can swing a fight in their favor, which is why I feel we've seen so many close fights. 19 to 17 on the kills. These are our two teams that are so similar to how LPL approach the game. We're getting a very LP-esque style game. I love it. These next Drake and Baron fights are going to be huge to determine the outcome. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we're only at game 2. There's at least one more game after this. But here's hoping that Mad Lions can bring us to all 5. They're in a great position to be able to win this one out.
Of course, Mountain spawning in 1 minute, it would be soul point for G2, as well as the Baron. That's also going to be a pressure point there. So maybe Mad Lions try to say, okay, you can have Mount
Jankos.
Soul.
Big hook though, gonna connect on the Kaiser. Follow-up CC is there. Spirit's Refuge buys a little bit of time, but Humanoid off to the side. Keep your eyes on the hook shot coming in. They're not even gonna give him the opportunity to kick off though. That's a lot of good damage, but in the meantime, Perkz uncontested on the backside means he gets to throw the ult across the entire team. Still, G2 are getting chunked down. Caps is getting chunked down. He's gonna get knocked out, but here comes Wunder one more time. But no, this time the Zonyas is there. Shadow and Carzzy untouched for now. Humanoid buying a bit more space. Carzzy wants to finish this one off, but he leaps forward right into the snare. In the meantime though, watch out from Shadow, but Wunder gonna go on a rampage as he takes him down.
For the longest time, Perkz was actually untouched in that fight, and it was kind of a story about AD carries. But the fact of the matter is that Perkz had the range. He had the through damage on the Senna, as well as also providing all of that healing.
Whew. What a close fight, though. G2 just barely coming out ahead. I thought Carzzy was going to carry that one. Oh, but the TP re-engages once again.
TP being matched, though, for now. Who's going to come in? Humanoid right into the midst of the team. There's no backup. Humanoid, no. He wanted to stop this. He wanted to contest it, but there's no option.
No.
They were already guaranteed the Mountain Soul, and Humanoid throws his life away as well.
Oof. That is a crucial death. Of course, as you rightly said, Drakos, the question is, why did he use the TP? His jungler is dead. G2 is already in a position to secure that dragon. Maybe he wanted to try and steal it away, but with that gone and with him dead, this should be an easy access for G2 to go and get the Baron as well.
And this is a big deal because Mountain obviously isn't that important in the sense that there aren't very many true tanks on this team, but having a more upfront shielding on top of the locket of the Iron Solari to mitigate the combo of the Galio and the Camille together means it's that much harder for Mad to just blow up a member of G2 in any one of these fights.
I actually think it is a big deal because it's also a Senna on a composition. You know, like you're saying, it's hard to blow them up and to burst them. It's actually just super hard to beat G2. In an extended, long fight, I think they just win that every single time, especially because of the itemization you see from both teams. With the Baron on top of it, this is looking really ugly. This was like Mad's game all the way, and G2 find the picks, find the fights.
So let's have a look. Kaiser gets chunked out a lot initially, but then the TP comes through for Camille. Immediate ultimate, there's the Galio ult. So 3 people get knocked up, but again, Perkz is positioning at the back. His ultimate comes through, and notice how Carzzy and Perkz are just sitting at the back of each team fight. They're like, I'm dealing damage as much as I can, and you can see again, at this point I'm thinking, ooh, Carzzy can carry, but he gets rooted up here, and that slows his momentum. He cannot follow Shadow because as well, the slow that comes out from the Glacial Orphan from Wunder, and that is what allows G2 to actually come out ahead on this fight. Then the TP comes through, and G2 find an easy kill.
But here's the thing, G2 knew that that ward was there, and that's kind of 2 bad teleports from Mad Lions that G2 massively punished to swing the game in their favor. As soon as Camille's TP came down, Mad knew that they had to fight there. They forced way too hard, and then Humanoid does the same thing, thinking that he can assassinate Senna and not seeing Neeko on the control ward TPing in, as well as Jankos hiding on the Raptor camp.
Meanwhile, in top lane,
Mad trying to set the bait though. They want Caps to step forward so they can try to find the follow-up, but They don't have the wave.
Who's
clear.
baiting who, Drakos?
That's a damn good question. In the meantime, towers are dropping left and right for G2 Esports as they push into the bottom lane. There are 2 members here on the top side. If Caps continues to push forward and stops the recalls, there's not going to be a lot of recourse here for the Mad Lions. Now stepping forward, though, they are going to break at least 1 tower, break an inhibitor. This is going to be huge, especially with Baron coming up, or with Baron on the team. Breaking bot side inhibitor means they can go straight to top side. 3 minutes to the Elder as well. Orome now hooked up. Call-up CC will not connect, though. G2 debating if they want this fight. Without Caps in the area, it is difficult. A little bit more damage. That's going to be a sleepy Perkz now. The ultimate now used. Ezreal coming off the top, though. Breaking the sleep a little bit early, so there's no fall. But now it's Mikyx in trouble. Perkz over the wall. Can't offer a lot of healing. And Wunder with a massive ult to try to turn it back. But Orome for now untouched. Carzzy untouched. Perkz now trying to get in the middle of the team fight. Caps rather. Perkz running for the hills. Mikyx finds the hook onto Carzzy. Perkz still just healing up. Double kill coming over for G2. They're absolutely slaughtering the Mad Lions. It was such a close game, but Mad cannot find a fight in their favor. Orome just barely making it out.
Wow, another huge teamfight win, but Carzzy staying alive. Oh, the damage from Perkz is so huge, though. And G2 will just obliterate Mad in the fight.
Senna is way too powerful at this point. Credit to Mikyx as well. I know you already shouted out Wunder's ultimate, but he also played that team fight very cleanly. And suddenly, in what looked like a Mad Lions game, G2 rip it back from them on red side.
Back and forth. Mad thought they had the advantage. Mad winning team fights, Mad finding kills left and right, but it is not enough for the Mad Lions to win a game versus G2. They stood their ground. They turned the game right back in their favor. And Mad Lions now pushed to match point.
Whew. Very exciting game, though. Both teams going at it blow for blow. There was just so much chaos in that game, so much team fighting. I thought the Mad Lions were in a great position to take that one, but in a couple of clutch fights, G2 just came out on top.
And really, it was... You could see the game plan, but as you said, Vedius, the later the game went, it got harder and harder because you saw in every team fight, it felt like Orome picked a different target to ult, and they thought, this is the guy we need to kill. But the reality of G2's composition was that Wunder had caught up and was strong enough that if you ignored 2 members of G2 to focus on one, the other 2 just shut you down. And that last fight, it was Perkz and Wunder throwing skill shots through an entire team, and it's just brutal to play against that.
That game is also the brutal one to lose. It's so important that you can win from red side because of how powerful blue side is. G2 now did that. Now, of course, Mad Lions will get side selection as the losers. I assume that they'll stay on blue side and try to make use of that, unless they feel that their blue side strategy isn't working and they try out their red side strategy. But like, you're at match point. The game was so much in your control. You were that close and it got torn away from you. Now is kind of the question of the mental fortitude of the Mad Lions to see if they can keep their composure, keep their endurance, and strike back. Like, we already know that like the Fnatics and the G2s of the world can deal with this situation. Can the Mad Lions?
Also, as a side note, Caps is really good at leading. I mean, I know like we've talked about different players, but like Caps is just really good at League of Legends. It's not fair. It's actually just not fair.
It might not be fair. We'll find out. G2 Esports are 1 win away from the next round where Rogue and Fnatic are looking to join them. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Game 3, potentially the final game of the series right after this.
Flash to get out of here, and Torre is left all on his lonesome with an incredible quickness into the knockback. Goodbye, Excel. Patrick gets taken out by Reckless. It's a triple for him.
You're fighting through like what goes well, what goes right, and it's all a matter of finding, okay, this is our recipe for success and expanding from there.
Remember, the Emperor's Divide is going to do so much work. Shadow's already gone. There's 2 as Kaiser falls, and Finn is still stepping into Carzzy. Flashes off towards the back. Vander able to survive. There comes the damage. Carzzy, goodbye.
I really don't care what other people think about us. We're not Mad Lions, we're not G2, we're Rogue, right? We play our game. I just want to win, and that's all.
You're a team without Syndra, no balls. Try and best G2, your call. So tell me, are you mad, bro? Some anxiety that maybe you should let go? All the stress just prepping for a big throw? Playoffs are a bit harder, you know.
can't believe they actually made it. Woo! What? It's what champions eat.
Beko Harvest Fresh preserves vitamins for longer by simulating the natural 24-hour sun cycle. Beko, eat like a pro.
Have a bite. It's good.
Je vais pas me négliger. Si c'est fini, c'est la vie, bientôt j'aurai tout zappé. J'ai oui, oui. Jolie nana, recherche joli Joe. Comment on fait, je suis pas très mytho. Moi j'ai le truc, je sens les pipo, les pipo. Oh yeah. Ils m'ont dit bête, bête, bête. Je suis tombé la première, merde, merde. Ils m'ont dit bête, bête, bête. Je suis tombé la première, merde.
Charged up. Hello, everybody. Let the game begin.
Welcome back, everyone, to the LEC Studio. 2-0 for G2 Esports, and a bit more fight out of the Mad Lions, I would say, in that second game, but still not enough to stop G2, who are looking to be on championship course. Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the day, you definitely called the 3-0. I do think we saw some improvements out of the Mad Lions in that second game.
Yeah, I think we definitely expect to see much more of a fight from Mad Lions after the first one, and they put that up in this game here. I think they had some cool answers like the Camille plus the Galio to try and hard slam on those side lanes, and ultimately it came down to two very teamfight focused comps that got super scrappy in the 5v5s.
I just like that they adapted in draft and went for some early game themselves. You know, they actually downloaded G2's gameplay in a sense, and they actually matched them on the mid lane ganks. You saw there was so much fighting in mid, almost like an ARAM in the first sort of 5 to 10 minutes, but it's necessary. Mad Lion has to do that. If they don't do that, then Humanoid's just going to go 0-5.
Can you call out specifically the adaptations that you liked the most out of Mad Lions that were necessary to withstand that early game power, Caedrel?
Well, they have a good winning jungle matchup. I like the Shen flex. That did get them a pretty good top matchup in the end. I think Camille, Galio, it has a lot of playmaking. They have the Shen ult as well, so they have essentially 2 globals with a split pusher. And on top of that, they have an early game tempo jungle, so they can actually impact the map. They have a good support champ like in Shen, where he can actually roam, he can be impactful, he can start engages. And yeah, you saw in the first couple ganks in mid, TPs were coming in, everything was being blown just to make sure that they could get the mid push, and it was always contested.
Yeah, exactly, because looking at these champions, right, you have a Galio into an Irelia and a Sejuani and a Nautilus, like that reads you're going to be attacking around that middle lane, so it was always going to be really rough for Humanoid. He needed his team to try and bail him out.
We had a little fault in the champion select graphics, so we're going to cut that for now, but let's move into the first replay of, no, there we go.
There they are.
Anyway, we're going to move on to the replay. Humanoid top lane, so we see here that he has the Galio on his hands. And you guys were saying this is more fight out of him, the fact that he is willing to TP and he is willing to use that.
Exactly, because before this, you know, Shadow sort of came to his lane at level 2, entered it a bit, and then he got killed by a gank around mid lane. But then he says no, even with falling behind early on, he uses that ultimate, pairs up super nicely with the Camille ulti. There's just nothing really that you can do to dodge out that gank.
And it feels like Mad Lions is adopting G2's playstyle. You saw that gank, they unlocked Humanoid, they got the push out on the caps, they got the kill, and then Humanoid instantly runs top, ignores the wave, and ults into top. So I just love the fact that they're matching G2 in what they're doing, and they're doing their own kind of take on it with the Camille Galio.
Do you also think the addition of a lot of mobility in that you had the global now in Shen to come in for the protection, you of course had the Galio, had Ezreal running TP for a bit, the fact that they had more tools to kind of match whatever G2 would throw at them, was that helpful for the Mad Lions?
For sure, they had plays to, even more than just matching G2, it was just now you can go and make plays on your own, because before it was the full-on 5v5 team fight comp. In this draft, you actually have the Camille and the Galio, who are great playmakers on their own. The Shen too can also play into that idea.
Yeah, I just love the adaptation, like we said. I mean, it just gives them so much more playmaking. They're not sitting under their towers, getting pushed in, praying for miracles, farming up, getting their item spikes. These comps, they spike pretty much level 6 with the Galio Camille. You have Lillia, who spikes level 3. She can start running around the map, and Shen, he just needs his taunt, so I really like it.
Let's take a look at this team fight around the Drake at 23 minutes. Caedrel, you wanted to point out some things we may have missed.
Yeah, so I really like the Camille Galio, but in team fights it's kind of weak. You see Orome here jumps in, he gets the Galio ult, he gets the Shen ult, but he still gets one shot, which leaves Humanoid in a Zhonya's, and Wunder plays this fight so well. He sees Humanoid goes in here, he does all his burst and Zhonya's, and now Mad has to save him. But Wunder saves his stealth just when the Zhonya's is about to come off, pops the ult flash, and gets 3 members, and that just basically seals the deal of the fight.
Yeah, I also want to say, like, one thing we're seeing consistently in these fights is actually the Senna, and I feel like she's flying under the radar just a little bit, but Mad Lions are playing comp with 4 melee champions. Senna gets insane range later on, so she's not really getting touched in the fight, and she also can output so much healing and shielding for all of her melee champions that I feel like she's a really powerful pick in the hands of Perkz.
Yeah, the fights get kind of clumped up. You've got Galio trying to get the taunt in, Camille ult, the Galio ult, you've got the Shen taunting in there, you've got Sejuani and Irelia in the mix, so everyone's stacked up, so the Senna Q's hitting them to do damage and heal, and the ult's doing that on top of it. So I think Senna had so much impact in these fights, it just kind of went under the radar.
Glad that you called it out then. Mad Lions, great stuff. Okay, that team fight didn't go their way, but they were able to push. They were pushing in the top lane, and then somehow G2 takes over the game. What happens?
Honestly, this is a position. So Mad Lions had been winning a couple of fights leading into this. I think they get a little too hypey here. There's a tower that's going to be hitting them repeatedly, but you watch, because of the tower, how split this fight becomes. You have Mad Lions diving into the backside, Orome really tries to get the job done on Perkz and does finish it off, but the rest of his team is sort of isolated on the backside, so he gets traded out. Kaiser takes so much damage off of the tower, and this is where Caps is able to turn it online here in the fight.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the fight, there's 3 fights going on. Orome is trying to take out Perkz. You've got Humanoid and Kaiser trying to take out Caps, and then you've got Shadow and Carzzy trying to kite for their lives, trying to do as much damage as they can. They were really split in that fight. I mean, I think just taking the tower there with the Baron, forcing them off with your Baron is just much better play overall. Committing for a full-on dive onto Perkz when the Camille ult came out, the Galio ult came out a bit too late. Perkz was actually able to flash out before the Galio ult came in, so he actually lived, and then they just kind of overchased.
So, are you seeing more hope now from the side of the Mad Lions? They had a better draft, they had a better game overall, they just overpushed at the end. Do you see this going to more than a 3-0?
I still feel like G2 have what it takes. I think this is a much better look from the Mad Lions, and you can see a game can go Mad Lions' way, but I still feel like consistently G2 have been outplaying them.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think G2, no matter what the playstyle is, whether Mad Lions wants to match them in the early game, match them in the mid ganks, match them in the team fights, I think G2 is just a better version. I think that Mad Lions has to pull something else out, try something different, whether it's, I mean, they tried here Globals with a split pusher. Maybe they want to go back to a team fight comp, which seems like their comfort, but drafting early game champs with it is kind of necessary. I like the draft adaptations, but yeah, I think G2 is probably looking strong here.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from you also is the fact that G2 is just looking strong. All of their players are online, and that means it is do or die for the Mad Lions in Game 3. So let's see if they can bounce back after the break.